Hi, y'all. My name's Jessie. I have a husband and 2 kids. I am 32 years old, and in September, it'll be 10 years ago since my accident. Lots of people have told me that I am inspiration to them and I should totally do this. And I don't try to be an inspiration. I don't try to do anything to impress anybody. I do my life and take care of my family because that's what I want to do. That's my job. This is my life. I want to take care of my life, and I don't want somebody else to have to take care of me and my kids and my husband, and it's just not right. I've got to speak a couple of times at different churches for different events and to be a motivational speaker, and that was really awesome to be able to share my story and hear people's feedback, or the younger kids that came up and hugged me and told me thank you so much, that they loved hearing my story and it gave them hope. That was really, really touching to me. So my story starts back on the day of Hurricane Ike. We had evacuated to my ex-stepdad's house now. He was my stepdad, but and he owned some equipment, and he was the owner of a business for land grading and digging and dirt work and stuff like that. He had 2 new pieces of equipment, a bulldozer and a track hoe, that were to be delivered to his house because Mustang Cat didn't want to be liable for them during the hurricane. So he said, okay, just deliver them to my house. We will put them on each side of the house as a buffer from the wind to help with the wind. As the day went on, everybody got bored of being inside. It wasn't raining yet. Everybody got tired of watching the weather. So my little sister, who was 12 at the time, he said, come on, I'll give you a ride in the bucket of the bulldozer. So he had her in the bucket, driving her around the yard, and we were all laughing and saying how funny that was. Well, then he had an idea to make a tire rope swing off the bucket of the track hoe. And for those of you who don't know, a track hoe has the big claw on the top, but the tracks stay in place, in just the cab where the driver is spins in place. Well, he made my ex-stepdad now made a rope swing off the top of it. Well, he was my fiance then. His name is Todd. He did it first, and I was using the video camera, and he was going so fast in a circle that he was even with the tree line. And you can hear me on the video say, oh my gosh, if that rope breaks, he's gonna die. Like, this is crazy. You need to get down. He's going too fast. Well, so they decided to make it a little safer and add a tire to it. He said, yeah, let's put a tire on it. Then you can sit down. Then you don't have to worry about your foot slipping out. But going in a circle, the cab of the track hoe wasn't going that fast, but centrifugal force was making you go even faster in a circle. So they put the tire on the rope and sat on it, and my fiance did it, Todd. My little sister did it, who was 12. My mom did it, who was 44. And I don't ever do stupid things like that. I'm just not the daredevil like they are. But everybody said, yeah, do it, it's fun. So I said, okay. So I got on and I went around one time, and then I was going to get off. Everybody said, oh no, do it again, it's fun. So my fiance, Todd, was videoing with the video camera. And so I went around another half a time, and the rope broke, and I flew about 50 feet, probably going 50 miles an hour, into the side of the parked bulldozer that was on the side of the house. It was just like a horror movie. A year after it happened, I thought, yeah, I can watch the video. I know what happened. I lived that, you know? And Todd said, I don't think you should watch it. And I said, yes, I want to watch it. He said, okay. So I watched it, and it was like a horror movie. I mean, you hear everybody laughing and talking, and then you hear Todd, you don't see me in the video view anymore, and Todd says, holy shit. and he dropped the video and it went blank, just like on a horror movie when it goes blank. And it just disgusted me. It brought so many memories back. I wanted to tear the video up. I wanted to rip it to pieces, and I didn't want anybody to ever see it again. And Todd said, no, you're not getting rid of it in case we ever need it for lawsuit or, anything legal. So we kept it. But at that point, my feet hit first, and then I fell backwards onto the ground. So that's pretty high up, probably 12 feet. I landed on my my back, like my butt bone. So I broke my pelvis and my tailbone. When I hit my legs hit the bulldozer first because they were on the tire or whatever. Both of my femurs were popping out of my legs. There were two. I have a 12-inch scar on my right leg where my femur was just out. I hit my face right here. You can see my scar where it was open. And the only thing that I had on my face was a little bitty scratch right here that I needed 2 or 3 stitches for. But my wrist was also popping out, and it was pretty bad. I ended up breaking 16 bones, and both of my lungs were collapsed, and I had a lacerated liver and a ruptured spleen. We were way out. We were about 30 minutes away, maybe more, from the hospital, and it was the day of Hurricane Ike, so everything had been evacuated. I should have been life flighted, but everything had been evacuated, so we had to wait on an ambulance to come. Well, the ambulance couldn't find where we were, so somebody at some point had to go to the end of the driveway and wave them in to come to where we were. And my mom said all I knew to do was get a rag and put it on your face, because that's the only thing that I knew that I could control or fix or make you look a little better. And she said she said that I was kind of barely moaning and kind of making noises, but I was out of it. And she said, but I knew as long as you were making noises or moaning that you were with me. And I just kept begging you to hang on, Jess, hang on, they're coming. Just stay with me, stay with me. And my father-in-law now, he was standing over me with an umbrella, because at this point, the rain from the hurricane had started coming in. Todd rode in the ambulance with me, and we went to St. Elizabeth in Beaumont because I couldn't physically get to Houston or, anywhere further. My mom and everybody followed in cars, but when I got there, eventually through the night, I had 2 different 8-hour surgeries of debriding and getting all the grass and dirt out of all the open wounds that I had, and trying to fix the bleeding and getting my lungs, better, and whatever they could do to keep me alive. I was on an oxygen machine, but through the night in the hurricane, the electricity went out. So a nurse had to sit over me and pump air into my lungs so I could live until until we regained electricity again. Over the next month, I had several surgeries, and I was in ICU, and I was in a coma for a month. I don't remember anything from that. I was told that, I had a 2-year-old son. He couldn't see me. He couldn't come into ICU. And they were sitting in the waiting room one day, and I had to go by on the bed to do x-rays or something. And he said, that was my mama. And they said, no, it wasn't, because they didn't want him to see me or remember me with all the tubes and all the scary stuff that was going on. And he said, no, that was my mama. I want to see her. And it was me, and he knew that was his mommy. And that, hearing that afterwards just really, really breaks my heart. That was really hard for me to hear him have to go through. To hear my mom and Todd and the rest of my family's stories are are pretty heartbreaking too, that, you know, they could only be up there for certain times to see me at ICU. So they would go home or, you know, go to the camper because there was no electricity, there was no nothing. So they had a camper on a generator. They were all sleeping in there. They would go home and wait for the next time to come up there and see me and be there at every time that I could. Over the month, I started getting better day by day. It was not a fast process. It was very slow. I had 2 metal fixators on my legs, so I couldn't move my legs at all. So I couldn't get up or turn over or anything. So they had to give me a sponge bath. They had to, you know, everything that they could do. I couldn't do anything on my own. I had nerve damage, so I couldn't go to the bathroom on my own. It was very, very heartbreaking and hard. But eventually they started weaning down my medicine so I could come out of my coma. And the first thing that I did was this. For some of you that don't know, this is the I love you sign. We all thought this was like the universal I love you sign. And my mom said, she just did the I love you sign. And the nurses in there said, what is that? She was like, what? You don't know what that is? So that's always been kind of a weird thing to us that they didn't know what that was. But I still couldn't talk because my jaws were wired shut because I broke my jaw and I had a trach. But I could do that. And then I've always been a pretty fast, avid texter. So at first they tried to give me a dry erase board to write. Well, my right wrist was broken. I couldn't do it, and it had a big metal fixator thing on it, and I couldn't do what I needed to do. And so I finally got it across to give me the phone so I could text, because all that's doing is moving your fingers. So that helped me to be able to interact with my family and the nurses and, you know, whoever. And then so the nurses started getting it that if I needed something, I would just show them the phone and they could get it out. After a month of being in ICU, I moved into a regular room for about a week, and then they moved me to an inpatient rehab in Beaumont, where my nanny just happened to be the head RN case manager. So she had been there for over 30 years maybe. So everybody knew Nanny, and everybody knew that I was coming and I was her granddaughter. So I got the A1 top treatment of the place. I mean, it was perfect. I had the best room. I had a huge room. So all my family could come, all my friends could come and see me. I had friends come and decorate my room for different holidays. Just everybody came to see me. My hairdresser even came and cut my hair whenever I was there to make me feel better. I had one friend that came and painted my toenails and fingernails while I was there to, you know, try to make me feel a little bit more normal. But it still was hurt. Everything was still hurt. I was still in so much pain. The metal fixators in my legs were just unbearable. All I could do was sit on my butt. But my butt is what hurt the most. My tailbone and my pelvis is what hurt the most, and I just couldn't get off of it. So sometimes I couldn't even sit up to eat. I just wanted to lay back and let some pressure off of it. I still had my jaws wired shut. I still had this, oh my gosh. I still had the tube in my throat, so I couldn't eat or anything. I had a feeding tube, and that was not normal. And sometimes I just wanted some water so bad. I wanted to drink some water so bad, and they couldn't give me any water because I could choke on it. I couldn't open my mouth. If I was going to throw up, I would choke on it because I couldn't open my mouth. It was wired shut. But my mom and Todd and my nanny, eventually everybody would give me a little sip of water out of a straw, just a little bit, just so I could have, just to taste some water in my mouth, because it was excruciating. I mean, it had been months since I had anything to eat or drink. The week